but I'm not making videos for the algorithm anymore. You're gonna have to come to these videos because you want to improve yourself in some way. I just have more important things to do than to invest a lot of time in YouTube. I love YouTube, and I love every single one of you that watch my videos and comment and do all that stuff. I really, really do. But in an ironic way, I can actually reach more people outside of YouTube with some things I'm doing, like with the new Better Human School and the things I'm gonna do with that. That will actually be able to bring more people to YouTube by doing that outside of YouTube, but by being inside YouTube and trying to play the algo game, it would take probably years longer to get there. So this video is the weekly newsletter. I'm trying to coincide this podcast video with the newsletter, but this came out yesterday and I'm recording this on Sunday. The holidays threw a wrench in things, but let's get into this newsletter. You can get it over at betterhumans.substack.com. There'll also be a link below. I'm going to skim through some of these, read some of it verbatim, go through each section, talk about it. We're going to aim for 15 minutes or so. I recommend getting on the newsletter list at the same place, betterhumans.substack.com. All right, so this is the 2020, December 16th, 26th, actually the last newsletter of the year. Imagine that. Fellow human, I've been reading How to Win Friends and Influence People, and it's blowing my mind. I read it 10 years ago. The difference and impact it's having on my brain is profound. This is reaffirming the idea that I need to focus on rereading the best books of all time rather than focusing on the vanity metric of new books read. And I fall into that vanity metric. I like to hit 100 books a year. I like to read a lot of new books, whatever. I don't think there's anything necessarily wrong with that, but I need to also add in rereading the best books into that. So if I want to read 100 books in a year, I should really be rereading like the top 20 to 50 books of all time, and then maybe save the other 50 books for the new books that come out. All right. I heard from a friend recently that was talking about this book that I'd recommended to her. And the friend said something to the effect of, well, How to Win Friends and Influence People is common sense. Everybody does it, knows it, whatever. And so she asked him if he read the book. Of course he didn't. The better question is, how many people, if they have read the book, implement the ideas? How many people listen more than they talk? How many people make it about the other person, not themselves? In my experience, from what I've seen, very few people do this. And the ones that do it usually do it on accident because that's naturally who they are. More people, or I should say most people, criticize more than they praise. This is my problem. I don't praise enough, and I tend to criticize more. And I'm actually flipping this entire script with my family and my business and my employees. When it comes to employees, is a really big one. As an entrepreneur, you're focused on fixing things, and you tend to get into that entrepreneurial fixed mindset. So you're like, okay, what's the problem? Let's attack it. Let's get it done, whatever. And sometimes it can come off as criticism, and sometimes it is criticism because people make mistakes. So I need to praise more, criticize as little as possible or not at all. And the real enlightenment with this is to only praise, right? To only have positive reinforcement and completely eliminate criticism from your vocabulary. I'm not there yet, but I'm working on it. So this is a book that you should read every single quarter or at least once a year for the rest of your life. It's that freaking important. And a quote from it, there is one all-important law of human conduct. If we obey that law, we shall almost never get into trouble. In fact, the law, if obeyed, will bring us countless friends and constant happiness. But the very instant we break the law, we shall get into endless trouble. The law is this: always make the other person feel important. And that's from How to Win Friends and Influence People. All right, next section of the newsletter, something I improved this week. Mindset going into allergy season. I've been getting a case of cedar fever every year in Texas since I moved here. I didn't know anything about it. Got it. Got the fly. I didn't know what it was. I moved here and then it happened. And then I was like, oh, wow, I wish somebody would have told me that. It's the cedar trees. They put off pollen or whatever it is, and it goes in the air and it flies all around Texas because cedar has overtaken Texas. I've had an allergic reaction. Every year it's gotten a little bit worse, but even about 2 years ago, 3 years ago, that was really, really brutal. Put me out for a while. Last year was pretty brutal. And I went to the eye doctor, I went to the allergist, I went to other places. My problem was I kept rubbing my eye and I made it worse. I literally rubbed my eye to the point where I had this major allergic reaction and my eye was like bulging red. That's how bad it was. And I went to the eye doctor and he's like, oh yeah, this is just allergies. And he gave me some drops. What I've learned from this is when these things would come on, and I feel like it's made my interaction with sickness and fatigue much worse because I become hypersensitive to when my body isn't feeling great. What I notice though is I latch onto those feelings and I obsess over them and I make them worse through my mind. This year, what I've decided is enough is enough. My allergies aren't going to get to me. F my allergies. The second my eye itches, I move to something else. The second I feel like I'm tired or this or I'm that, I move to something else. And then I use positive affirmations, incantations, breath meditation, Tony Robbins stuff, Joe Dispenza stuff, all these different practices of the mind and body and visualizing and being grateful for things that haven't happened yet. The stuff I've been getting into anyways, right? Which has been very fortunate that happened right before the holidays. I've been able to recognize this and it's amazing. This morning, and it seems like every morning when I'm in the middle of cedar season, the mornings are hard because you wake up and you're trying to, like gauge whether your allergies are like really feeling and like how you're going to feel today. And the more I obsess over this and I wake up this way, the harder it is to get out of it. And it seems like every morning is the most brutal to get through. And then when I get through it, I do my morning focus and my gratitude and my visualizations and this this old Tony Robbins routine that I used to do that I'm now doing again. It's called like Power Hour or something like that, or 15 minutes of fulfillment. When I get through that, and about 30 to 45 minutes after waking up, maybe about an hour after waking up, I then feel good. And then from there, it's upward, right? As long as I can get through that morning and I don't let my mind obsess or go into too much into my body and too much focus on like how I don't feel great. If I don't do that, I almost always take it in the right direction. Your mind is more powerful than you can ever fathom. It's actually the most complex thing that we've ever found in the universe, and we don't even know how it works. Scientists still have no idea what really consciousness is, how it was formed, or how to replicate it. And that's a lot of the reason why general AI, like we're no closer to general AI than we were 20 or 30 years ago, right? And so all these Terminator, like taking over the world, fear-based futures, I mean, it can definitely happen, but it doesn't seem like it's going to happen anytime soon, unless there's some crazy breakthrough that happens. Something I enjoyed this week, seeing the joy on my son's face, opening up his Lego Duplo set and us building it together. As a kid, you grow up, Christmas is about gifts for yourself. As an adult, you realize that the holidays are supposed to be about gratitude and about giving. And so what we're actually going to do with my son is every year he's going to have to give a gift to someone else and he's going to have to make it with his own hands, and we're going to help him do that. We're going to help him think about ideas and then actually make the thing, and then he's got to give it to someone or multiple people. We want to ingrain in his head the joy of giving and really, really kind of highlight that and put a big emphasis on that moment when someone opens something that's from us, that we thought about, that we gave them, and the joy that they get. I want him to grow up with that appreciation rather than the gifts for me, how big, how many, how much does it cost, etc. That toxic American manufactured mindset of more is better. I don't want him to grow up with that. He won't grow up with that. Something I've been thinking about: how to improve online education, which in its current state tends to reward self-motivated learners. This is why most online courses fail most people. There are a sea of options, yet little accountability, direction, and method. My next venture, the Better Human School, is going to be focused on solving the online education model so more people can change themselves and lead better lives as a result. This is very much in the early stages. You'll be hearing more about it on the channel. I'm very excited about it. There's a lot ahead. The model, how I'm going to do it, I'm going to raise money. Am I going to have a big team? I'm going to do it small. What the MPV is, or MVP, minimum viable product, is, getting feedback from, people like yourself that get in there early. There's a lot of different things that are still in the works. But what I've been doing is I've been diving deep into a lot of the online models. I've been taking a Harvard class online. I think it's EDX. You can take them for free. Mind Valley, I've been looking into optimize.me. I've been looking into kind of getting an idea for how they do things and are they gamifying and what the different learning methods are. And what I've been finding is most of the online model is based on you watch a video, you listen to somebody talk to you, and then you take like a very short, not very robust quiz, and then that's it. It's very passive. And there's no skin in the game. There's no direction. At least with college, you spend a lot of money and you really want that certificate because that's going to give you cachet in the job market. So I'm trying to figure out, how can I take the best ideas from college, the best ideas from gamification and addictive technology, right? Or something like Duolingo, which is language learning app, which I love. How can I take these ideas and translate it into education so that I can focus on the big ideas of how to think, how to live, the best ideas that mankind has come up with thus far, help people make actual change in their life? Because that's what I figured out is the most important thing. I give out nutrition advice all the time. I've been doing it for years. I'm kind of getting over it, to be honest, because it's like, what, 5% maybe of the people that watch a video are going to do anything with that information. And then even less of percent are going to stick with that forever and really, truly change their life. That's not okay with me at all. It's like 5% of courses online get completed. And probably even smaller percent of people actually take results with that information. This is probably true for almost all education, but at least with something like college and traditional schooling, there are certain incentives in place and certain skin in the game in place to where people are forced to do certain things that get them outside their comfort zone, that really get learning happening. And, whether that translates to real life or not is, again, a big part of the question that I want to really help solve. And so I have a lot of different ideas with this. It might just end up being a course that I become obsessed with myself and that I focus on delivering and refining. It might be something that I grow into a bigger company. It might be something that maybe we can figure out like what that new hybrid online model is and then license it to other places like maybe Harvard or other schools that want to take their core curriculum and put it online, but want it to be more than just watch videos and like answer tests, quizzes, whatever. Yeah. So always welcome to feedback and advice and ideas, things to look into or videos I should watch or books I should read, anything that is around habit change, around behavior change, thought patterns. I'm just really diving deep, but it's all very much based on the brain and how we think. If we can change how we think, if I can help somebody change how they think, then they can do anything. I could give them a 1-page, how to be healthy, how to eat healthy, whatever, and they'll do it, right? But somebody that has negative thought patterns, limiting beliefs, stories, and all these different things about themselves, they can get all the how-to information on the planet. Doesn't mean anything. In fact, that's really what the default of the internet is. It's all the how-to information you could ever want, and then a small percentage of people taking advantage of that information. Think about that a second. Isn't that insane? And that's why I've been saying for years, the 1% are always going to be the 1%. The internet has just made the 1% get results 10,000 times faster. Whereas the 99% are going on the internet, watching videos and like playing games and just doing things that are not really working towards anything, or they're getting distracted, or they're getting pulled in 1,000 directions, etc. Something worth knowing: the Better Human Knowledge Hub public spreadsheet. I just started building this public spreadsheet full of my favorite resources. I'm going to keep expanding. It's going to be amazing. It's got quotes, it's got articles, it's got videos, it's got books you should read. It's going to be amazing. It's public, open access, so you can get there and you can view it. And if you have if you want to add something to it that you believe belongs there, that is an evergreen piece of content that people should want to find in 10 years, 20 years, 100 years, then you should leave me a comment or send me an email. So bookmark it now and watch it grow. A big idea: your mind is the root of everything. This is interesting. Have you thought about how your mind is the root of everything in your life? Now, with this topic, I'm not going to read this verbatim. Most people, and I've fallen victim to this early in my life, most of us, for whatever reason, society hasn't highlighted it, education has failed us, whatever, most of us don't recognize the importance of taking responsibility for every thought, feeling, or emotion that runs through our brain. Because we don't take control of this, because nobody really told us that it's our fault, our responsibility to control how we respond to the world, most people live lives, as Thoreau said, of quiet desperation, because they're operating under this model to which their external environment, the things that are outside of themselves, is what they're seeking to satisfy the internal. Now, I don't want to go on to a long philosophical rabbit hole on this topic. I've been talking about it before. I'll talk about it again. Things that well up in your mind, things you dream about, things that you respond to. So if you respond to somebody cutting you off, most of you listening will think, oh, well, they did that, I should be angry or whatever. That's a flawed model. The better question is, why would you let a stranger to which you will never see for the rest of your life, and who doesn't matter, why would you let him or her have any effect whatsoever on your mental state, on your equanimity? It makes no sense. Why would you let this plate that fell and broke, that you can now no longer go back in time to prevent, it's broken, it's done, and you're staring at it, and now you're getting upset about it. How does that add up? It makes no sense. And on and on and on you can go. And what you see is quite literally almost everything in modern human life that causes stress, that causes people to quite literally eventually do things like commit suicide or cheat or do these crazy things that they end up regretting, is the result of trying to satisfy the internal with the external. And in some way or another, letting the external too much have something to do with the internal and connecting it too much. When you connect the internal to the external and you make them in some way partners or connected at the hip or whatever, in my opinion, it's the definition of insanity, right? Because the universe, the only constant in the universe is change. Everything is changing. Everything is in flux. Everything will pass. Nothing's permanent. You're taking that crazy, random, mathematically huge, for lack of a better word, number of possibilities and the fact that it's changing all the time. And then you're making that the core of what makes you happy or content or this or that. What a flawed model. Like very few have ever considered this or thought about this. I mean, even when I verbalize it, I think to myself, like, why did I have to figure this out on my own? Why did I have to come to this on my own? Why did nobody talk about this? No teacher. I mean, some books I've read have kind of alluded to it or whatever, but there's not even a full treatment in the literature on this or whatever. There's usually just, anyways, it's crazy. It is your responsibility to control how you respond to everything. It is your responsibility to control the thoughts that well up in your mind. It's your responsibility to deal with any past trauma or anything like that if it's causing stress and or suffering in the moment. It is your responsibility, nobody else's. And that's going to be the end of the show. We have 2 podcasts here that you should watch, 2 YouTube videos. We have a product feature, which my work and the newsletter is sponsored by. You could say it's sponsored by Wild Foods, my company. Came out with a Wild Multi, real food, whole food source. Look into that. The elderberry caps with vitamin zinc and C, vitamin C and zinc. I've been taking multiple a day to help me with the allergies. And then there's a few links here to my favorite beef, some free Skillshare courses with access links, where I buy my gold, etc. And yeah, that's going to be it. So again, go to betterhumans.substack.com to get this. You can listen to the full audio of this if you want to listen instead of watching. And that's going to be on iTunes, Spotify, Google Play, all the places. And as always, if there's anything you want me to cover or questions or anything like that, you can send me an email, colin@wildfoods.co. And I hope you'll take away a nugget from today's show and think about it. And it will then, you'll plant a seed and that you'll water that and that will grow into something and you'll become a better human as a result. That's what I'm interested in. All right. So betterhumans.substack.com to get the newsletter. And I appreciate if you leave a comment and you like the video, because this is going to be on YouTube. And, like I said, I'm not playing the algo game, but if we can do anything to help it, I'm always grateful for that. New Year's coming up. Don't make goals. Make process. We'll talk about that in probably the next video I post. Hey, Colin here. Got a freebie for you. Click on the button below to go to theancestralmind.com and download the 7 Principles of Living Wild. This is a short PDF that's got some of the main principles, such as real food, sleep, movement, and a couple more that are going to help you live more ancestrally in accordance with your genes.